Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra Mulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell, and today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is trying to scratch out a life of contentment. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
We are not professionals. We are not trained in this, so please take our advice as you see fit. We are only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs on the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. We're supplemental. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We're icing on the therapy cake.
Yeah, we're the vitamins to your actual medicine.
That's a good one. All right. What is today's letter?
All right. Our letter today comes from Hopeless McGee, whose pronouns are he, him, who is writing from St. Paul, woo. Sam and Sierra, I am a 28-year-old he, him pronouns with my partner, 27-year-old she, they pronouns. We've been together for about 6 years. We are married, but I recently asked my partner for a divorce. There are a lot of reasons for that I can't get into in the scope of this letter, but some of those include 1, getting married really young due to religious pressure and later leaving said religion. 2, mental illness. I am being treated for depression and ADHD, and they have recently been diagnosed with untreated borderline personality disorder, which had contributed a lot to our issues. 3, my desire to get to know myself outside of the context of a highly volatile and codependent relationship. I really feel like I have nothing left to give in this relationship, and I feel so horrible. I feel guilty because my partner wants to fix things, but I feel like I'm just completely drained of all will to work on it. We've gone to couples therapy on and off over the years, and I have pretty consistently been in individual therapy, as has she for the past few months. Every time she begs me to just work on it, all I feel is a sense of duty or obligation to stay that probably comes from my religious background. I know that sometimes people break up and that's okay. And if I really feel I can't do this anymore, it's for the best. But I feel so guilty for doing it when she wants to keep trying. Beyond that, I feel incredibly hopeless. Divorce means I will be a newly single 28-year-old man and my partner being my only long-term relationship or sexual partner I've ever had. I feel like I'm not exactly going to be a hot commodity on the dating market. Who is going to want to go out with a divorced man with no dating experience? How am I going to not always feel inadequate comparing myself to people who did that sexual and relationship exploration at a younger age that I'm just getting started with? I feel so far behind everyone else. Hell, how do I even meet or talk to people for dating or even to make friends? I feel like back in college, I had a much easier time socializing because there were people my age with similar interests around. But now at my job, which is also pretty shitty, I work alone most of the time and come home exhausted. I feel so dumb for getting into this commitment that I absolutely wasn't ready for. I feel so guilty for hurting my partner by breaking up with them when they still want to try. I feel so hopeless when I have spent so many years trying to soothe my partner's BPD reactions when I could have just been building the friend group and community I badly want. Starting from scratch, especially as I near my 30s, feels so overwhelming and I'm just so scared, and it's hard to muster up any hope. The only real social interaction I get these days is with my band here in the cities when we play shows and stuff. But I also feel so intimidated to go talk to other people at my shows because everyone seems so much cooler and has so many more friends than me.
They're not cooler.
Yeah, it's very true. They're not. I just can't seem to find a bright side. I know I wanted to be single and to get to know myself, but what if I do that and I don't like the person that I am? Any words of encouragement are appreciated. I feel so dark and scared and like I lack the strength and resources to scratch out a life of contentment for myself. And it doesn't help that I compare myself to people I see around me who seem to have accomplished the things I want so badly. Self-actualization, close friends groups, knowing what they want out of relationships. So if you have any tips for taking a chunk out of this hopelessness iceberg, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for your amazing show and your thoughtful approach to advice. I, like all of your other listeners, appreciate it.
Oh, I love you so much.
I feel very touched by this letter. I'm tearing up a little bit.
Well, it's just so It's just so relatable and vulnerable and human. My darling, thank you so much for trusting us with this letter, for listening, and for sharing this part of your heart with us and our listeners. I just need to say this explicitly. The fact that you can write this letter makes you so attractive. And I don't mean physically. I mean on a emotional, human level. The ability to reach out, the ability to be vulnerable, even with two strangers across the world, mm-hmm. even just to be able to articulate these things. This is, the ability to leave a relationship, to start again, to recognize that something is broken beyond repair, and to say that you and your spouse deserve better, deserve a new beginning, to do something else. That is so brave and bold, mature, and attractive. I'm going to use that word again. It's attractive. These are major attributes that mm-hmm. I look for in my romantic relationship. So just starting out the gate saying that that this will make you somehow less attractive to other people, in my book, you couldn't be more off base.
For sure.
We're going to dive into other ways to reframe this, ways to hold on to hope, ways to grieve that relationship while moving forward. But first, we're going to take a very, very, very quick break.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Hopeless. I just want to reiterate everything that Sierra said, or agree with everything that Sierra said. I think it's wonderful that you're reaching out to us and even thinking about what I would look for in a friend, let alone a romantic partner, right? Like having the willingness and ability to have some of these vulnerable conversations is a true mark of somebody that I would want to be in a deep and meaningful friendship with. I want to just say also, starting out, that breakups are hard. Right?
Disgusting. They're disgusting.
They're really challenging, right? They're challenging in lots of different ways. And I also think that there's a bunch of compounding factors in this particular breakup that's going to make it really hard, given the fact that this is your first breakup. And also it's a divorce in the context of the religious past that you have, right? Mm-hmm. You are also going through this breakup with some limited tools, given the past that you've had and the way that you've been taught about how to navigate and handle relationships. And so I want to say to you that the fact that you feel guilty about all of this stuff, the fact that you feel really bad about how this is going down, doesn't necessarily mean that it's the wrong thing to be doing. It just means that, of course, this feels shitty. Par.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. You're hurting somebody who you have been with for the last 10 years, if not more, right? There's a whole lot of reasons why it would feel bad to be doing something like this. And of course, your empathetic little heart is looking at this person who you have spent a lot of time with, have loved, and seeing them hurt and thinking, oh, something must be terribly wrong. I need to be doing something different. What a human, beautiful response to have to seeing your current partner in pain. And the fact that they're experiencing this pain is part of a bigger story that's going to lead to more health and nutrition for both of you. And part of it is reminding ourselves that absolutely, guilt is going to come up. Of course, this is going to feel shitty. Of course, I'm going to look at my partner and feel terrible that they're hurting. And I'm doing this with a purpose in mind. I'm doing this because this is going to help me and them in a way that's going to be more sustainable for both of us in the long run.
Right.
Doesn't mean sometimes we think that our ennobled ideas or I'm doing this for exactly the right reason kind of gets rid of the shittiness of the situation.
Right. Doesn't.
But both are coexisting at the same time. You get a dose of both of them, and often not one or the other.
Right. Exactly. I also want, just for a moment of levity, I want to share two little silly things before I get into, your fears about your lack of experience. First, I When I have the time, I love to run through the letters with Willow before I record because it makes me feel more prepared. Sometimes she has really great thoughts about it. And the very first thing my wife said after I read this letter to her was, "Oh, I love him." So again, about that attraction, the fact that you are not at a place of disadvantage. You have this whole breadth of life experience that maybe you feels like limits you. But to me, it just makes you that much more human and interesting. And you might feel like you have a lack of experience, but you have this whole wild jungle of experience, right? This long relationships, leaving this religion, committing to something so young and then learning and unpacking and unraveling so much of that and then deciding that this is unsustainable. I mean, that is like the experience I look for when I look for a partner, right? Somebody to be able to discern what they need. And so anyway, we just love you, naturally, my wife included. And the other thing I want to just, another silly thing I want to say is about like cool people, about how cool other people look. Recently, I had my book release show in Albany, New York, and I met somebody there who worked at the venue, who listened to our podcast and
cute.
Adorably freaked out when I submitted to have my show there. And now we are pals. And she was laughing because she was like, "What is she doing in Albany? Like, I thought you lived in California. You just gave off this like cool person vibe, and everybody who's cool lives in California."
So true.
I'm sharing that not because I think I'm cool, but because it's unfathomable to me that I give off California vibes, first of all. Second of all, we all think other people give off California vibes, to use that metaphor or line or whatever. We all think other people live in a cooler place and time and life than we do. That it like... And like, just to paint this picture a little bit more tangibly, I know that I have this cool podcast and a cool poetry career, but I live at home and barely leave my house. I barely get dressed. I hang out with a 1-year-old 90% of my life, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The coolness is all relative, right? The coolness, I talked about this with Sam when I was like picking out the outfits that I wear to these book release shows. We'll get back to your divorce in a second. Let me just talk about me a little bit longer. Making fun of myself. But like, what we present to the world, what I wear to Just Break Up events and I wear to my book shows, I often describe as like personas, as like shields, costumes that I put on. Even your and I's personas here on the show, obviously it is us because it is you and I, and we're vulnerable and we're being our true selves. And also, this is our job. We're putting on a hat, right? We are becoming vulnerable and authentic, and also small caricatures of ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Yep. You all don't see 99% of our lives, right? You don't see 99% of our personalities.
Yep.
So cool is a front. Cool is just icing, right?
For sure.
Cool is just an idea that we have in our heads that, we think other people live in California. We think other people only eat organic or fucking, whatever you think is cool, we don't see other people as diversely as they exist in the world is all I wanted to say about that comment.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. All of that is 100% true. Yeah. And I think that like, one of the things that seems like a big challenge for you in this, as well as this idea of like starting over, and this idea of like, I'm going to be a divorced 28-year-old who has like no experience in this whatsoever. And I just want to say that like, we get so many letters from people who are in who are experiencing that same feeling for whatever reason it is. Sometimes it's because of a breakup and they're like, how am I going to start over here? Sometimes it's like a job shift. Sometimes it's people who are like coming out for the first time, right? They're like, I've been living as a straight person my whole life, and now I realize I'm a lesbian and I don't know how to start over, right? Like, how am I going to break into this new world? So like this feeling that you're having of like lost time, this feeling of like everyone around me is living in California while I'm here in St. Paul, right? Like, right? Like, I want to say that there's probably a lot of people around you on any given day when you're at the band practice or when you're at a performance or whatever it is, who are feeling really similarly, who are also stepping out of their comfort zone for the first time, or are also going out to a concert for the first time since their breakup, or whatever it might be, right? I think again, like, we have this idea that people are sort of on a trajectory, right? We're all supposed to know exactly where we're going and how we're supposed to get there. And some people, take that train all the way to whatever destination it is. And some of us fall off the train and just like wander the earth like nameless and uncool. But like, I want to disrupt that and say that like, we're all on this journey of self-discovery, self-actualization together. And it may look different for some of us. Like, some of us may have a stronger sense of whatever it is, but like, that doesn't mean that 10 days from now, their train might be completely derailed, right? The world is so good at humbling us into remembering that we actually don't know what's going on 99% of the time.
Right. All of us.
That doesn't make us hopeless, right? That just makes us human. That just makes us moving through the world in a way where things have to be rewritten always. And is this like a huge life change for you? Absolutely. Is it, of course, intimidating? And are there going to be lots of new things you're going to have to learn about yourself in ways that may be really painful or uncomfortable or awkward? Absolutely. I'm not trying to negate that. But I also want to just like take this idea kind of off a pedestal a little bit and say like, you're not uniquely fucked up in beginning this new chapter of your life. You are one of many people who in this moment today are beginning some new big thing. And it's happening through pain, through excitement, through good, through bad, right? And there's a world of opportunity to make connections with folks who are experiencing similar life changes, or even people who can empathize deeply with what it must be like to be going through such an epic life change.
Yes. I think you articulated that perfectly, because in all of our conversation today, saying how, vulnerable and human and common this experience is it also, that's not to devalue the fact that this is totally life altering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That this is the unknown, right? It's both at the same time, right? Like I am not uniquely fucked up in this. And this is also incredibly new and fucked up and life altering. I wanted to say two more things. One, the part that hurt me the most from your letter, or that evoked the most empathy, is just like this feeling of feeling so foolish and stupid for getting into such a commitment so young and for doing what you did. And I have to remind you that you were doing the best that you could at the time with the knowledge and experience that you had. You were moving through the world the best that you could, right? Those were the right choices at the time. And now you have come into knowledge. Now you have experience. And now you're going to apply that knowledge and experience differently. So your best is a new best, a different best. It's not better or worse than, right? It's just you've moved into this knowledge and now you can exist differently. Back then you couldn't have done differently. You literally couldn't have. Not only can you not go back and change what you did in the past, you couldn't have done any differently. You couldn't have made any different decision. And the other thing I want to say is talking about this anxiety that everybody is cooler than you. Literally, nobody's cooler than you, even if they seem that way. And the experience in relationships does not equate quality, right?
Sure.
I was in dozens of shitty relationships in my 20s.
Yep.
And I didn't start internalizing or growing or really realizing what the fuck I needed to do to like, heal myself or be the person I wanted to be until I was out of those relationships, right?
Yep.
You might have literally more tangible growth or more tangible experience or whatever the fuck you want to, however you want to describe it, in this 10-year relationship with one person than I had during 10 years with however many people, right? That don't think that the number of people you're with equates emotional growth or experience, right? You have had plenty of experience. This is huge. This is a huge thing, a plethora of experience and growth for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing that I hope for you, and I think the thing that you're asking us for, is that you have some hope about the situation. I totally understand that you are in a place that is very dark, right? This process of getting a divorce, this process of starting something brand new, this self-reflection that you're doing, looking back and saying, how did I get here, right? How did we get to this dark place? It definitely can feel like there is no light anywhere else. But to use this well metaphor that Sierra always uses, right? You're sort of sitting at the bottom of this dried up well and looking around you and saying, how could this get any better, right? Look at how dry this is. Look at how dark it is. Look how long I have to climb to even try and get out of this place. But I want to remind you that you're sitting at the bottom of a well in this moment. And as you continue to climb, as you continue to move your way up into the sunshine, it'll get easier to see some of this hope as we go along. And right now for you, the thing that I can recommend is to figure out how to get from today into tomorrow in the direction that you want to be moving. What does it look like for you to put one hand over the other as you are climbing your way out of this well? And it's okay if it feels like, this is so tiring. Why am I doing this? But I want to say that there's an abundance of water available to you as you continue to climb, right? As you continue to climb, you will be able to see more and more of the sunshine that you're really craving in this moment. It will get better from here. And that's the hope that I can offer you. And I hope that you can believe it, right? I'm not trying to say it's not going to be hard or challenging or uncomfortable, but there is love out there for you that is going to fulfill you and sustain you in ways that you haven't yet been fulfilled and sustained.
Yes, absolutely. All right, my darling, we obviously love you so much. We're part of that love, and we hope that this helps.
Absolutely. We love you.
Thank you for writing.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like episodes ad-free, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to all of our primary episodes without ads. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DM, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need two random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friends Big Cats, aka Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and music. And remember, experience doesn't have to look a certain way. Experience with other people doesn't have to look like 10 different relationships. It could look like 10 years with one person. Your experience will never match other people's, but that doesn't make it any less quality. We are all new at everything. We are all starting again all the time. And if all else fails,
just break up.